Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is Kristin Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode. Welcome back, Strong Roots. We are in our motherhood season, and today we are going to be talking about unexpected loss. And I'm here with Susie. And she is an amazing woman who loves Jesus, and I think we're all going to learn so much from her and her journey through unexpected loss. So, Susie, will you tell us a little bit about your journey through motherhood?
Yes, it's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a long one. I have 6 children, but I've had 8 births. So I've had 2 stillborns and 3 miscarriages all intertwined in there. So after my 4th one, I was pregnant with my 5th. I'll go into a little more detail on this one because it was the first stillborn, but his name was Gabriel.
Yeah.
And a week before I was going to be induced, I had an OB appointment. So I was heading to that and had my 8-year-old son, Zeke, with me. And as I was driving along, I think sometimes God gives us maybe a little bit of a premonition of kind of help prepare what's to come. I just had this sinking feeling on the way to this appointment.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why. I knew I hadn't felt him move a whole lot, but when, we're busy, sometimes we just
normal.
don't, we don't realize that. So we got there, and I've had this midwife for years, and she immediately checked his heartbeat, and I remember it was 140s. It was, good, and I was relieved, but I still couldn't shake this feeling. So she had a stress test done on me, and for some reason she had me turn on my side, and when I turned on my side, Gabriel started kicking like crazy. And at the time we thought, he's waking up and he's okay. But that was when he died, and the cord was wrapped around his neck twice, and just moving on my side was enough to pull, and he was just trying to get away. So that one they were all hard, but the first one was obviously the most heart-wrenching. And then having my son there, he witnessed the whole thing, so that was hard for him. When they talk about your heart broken.
Yes.
You don't realize, I never realized how, your heart can just hurt so much.
Yes.
And it just feels like it's going to burst. So I wanted to have him right away. I wanted to hold him, and I think that was my way of grieving. I wanted him immediately. So I was induced and had him. He was a perfect little boy with a head full of hair, black hair, and he was gorgeous. He was a gorgeous baby, and they let us hold him all through the night, which was healing for me. But it was difficult. It was very difficult. So, but a year later, I had Titus.
Yeah.
In fact, he was actually due the same day that Gabriel was due. Didn't have him on the same day. And it's a little hard right now because we lost Gabriel on May 16th. So it's a little fresh. Every year you think of it and grieve, especially on that day. But anyway, so we had Titus. And then 2011, I was pregnant again. Oh, let me back up. Tony was going to have a vasectomy.
Okay.
This is important.
Yes, I believe it.
He was going to have a vasectomy. And when I was pregnant with Gabriel, and he went through the counseling and everything, and of course we opted out on that. So Titus was born, and we always say, Titus is special because we kind of think, Gabriel in a way gave his life because we have 2 more after that. We never would have had them, if Gabriel didn't die.
Yeah.
So there's always blessings in everything. But in 2011, I was pregnant with Levi, and at 5 months, I lost him. And his is a mystery. He was totally normal, no signs. We just don't know what happened. So I delivered him, and that was very difficult. And I remember driving up to the graveyard. We had graveyard service for both of them. And with his driving up in the graveyard for another one,
Yeah.
I don't panic, but I almost panicked on that one. But through it all, it's just an odd feeling. It was awful, but it was beautiful because I really felt God's presence in all of it.
Yeah.
So he allowed me to get through that one too. And then I had 3 more miscarriages after that. And I'll go along with some of the questions you asked, but long story short, 4 years ago we had Eliana. And I'll go into more detail with that. But
She's beautiful.
She is. She's oh my goodness. A little spoiled, but
I gotta ask a quick question. Was it hard? So I have 4 kids, and delivering, it's hard enough, but there's this prize at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it so hard delivering, knowing what
It was. You know, you think of carrying that baby for 9 months.
Yes.
And for nothing. You know, something kind of personal, you know, for Tony and I, but Tony was just such a rock during all of that too, and it's so important. Sometimes it breaks marriages.
Yes.
Something like that breaks marriages, but it really drew us closer. And he was so, you know, compassionate. And I remember, you know, he was 9 months, so my milk supply came in.
Oh.
And that was so hard because there was nothing there to, you know,
Yes.
just. And he knew. And he knew what was going on. He knew what was going through my head. And he just started sobbing with me, you know. It was just, it was touching because something that, you know, really only women can understand what's going through. He knew. He understood what was special.
Do you feel like you said, sometimes this can tear couples apart. Do you feel like this in the hard times, even though, did it draw you closer together?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I think we saw a side of each other that we never would have seen before. And we both had resilience to just give each other a lot of grace.
Yeah.
You know.
How did your kids handle this?
Well, my oldest 2, they did get to hold Gabriel. They wanted to.
Yeah.
So they held him. And, you know, it was a memorable experience. Kayla was 13. It was harder for her. She's very impressionable at that age. So she took it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
You know. But just being able to hold him and know that he was real and he was beautiful, and I think they appreciate life a lot more. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so open and honest.
Oh, thanks. I'm trying to hold it in.
I appreciate it so much. So, Jesus promises to be with us always, right? Mm-hmm. How has he demonstrated this throughout your life and throughout this process?
Oh, my goodness. You know, some people say that, you know, it's easier to be close to God during the good times. But for me, it's total opposite. I don't know if that's how it is for you, but I had never been so close to God until I lost Gabriel.
Yes.
And with each loss, it just drew me closer with each one. I know it sounds crazy, and I don't know how, but it happened.
Yep.
With Gabriel, after I had him, and the nurses were awesome. You know, one nurse even prayed with us and in the room. I mean, they were just, God was there. I have no doubt in my mind. But when I got home, I was sitting on the deck, and it was a cloudless sky, and Tony went in for a while, and my heart was just, you know, just ached so much. And I knew Gabriel was with Jesus, but I just was like, Lord, just show me something.
Right.
Just show me something. Sorry.
No.
And this huge cloud, I know it sounds crazy, but I know it's true. This huge cloud, these huge hands, cupped hands in the sky. I mean, from cloudless to that, it was right there. And I remember counting the fingers, and there was 10 fingers just, he had them right there. And it was just amazing.
Yes.
So I have no doubt that he is our comforter.
Yes.
And he draws near to the brokenhearted, for sure. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You can't make that up.
No, you can't. No, that's why I counted the fingers, because I wanted to make sure.
I love
it. Sure.
Yes. And I can relate. I agree with you that it is when I am going through the hardest trials that what is that? It does seem opposite.
Yeah.
But it does. It draws you near to you.
Mm-hmm.
Your reliance on him. It's just so much deeper.
It is. It is. And in a way, I can rejoice. In a way, I kind of had joy. It sounds crazy, and I'll go into that too, but I just had joy knowing that he was so close. Mm-hmm. And, just feeling his presence and knowing he was there. I actually felt special. I know that sounds really weird, but he loves us.
Yes. Well, even he took the time to meet you in your back porch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We all are special, and I think it's one thing to read it on pages or in a verse, but when he comes to our level and in a way that it's you can't match that.
No.
So good.
Unforgettable moments.
Yes. So, have you had times where you felt like you wanted to turn away or like you were angry?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
And funny enough, it was after, it's not funny, but weird that it was my third miscarriage. Mm-hmm. And so let me back up with my second miscarriage. When I was pregnant with this child, I was just 4 weeks along, and nobody knew. And I, with my track record, I wasn't going to tell anybody until, later. I had this urge to look up baby girl names at 4 weeks along. Knowing my track record, I don't know why, but I believe it was from God.
Yeah.
And specifically girl names.
Yeah.
So I was by myself, and I found Eliana. And immediately, Hebrew name, Eliana. I was like, I at the time I'd never heard of it, but it was just so beautiful. And then I look up the meaning, and it means God has answered. So I remember throwing my head back on the couch and thinking, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the child that I'm going to have, and her name's going to be Eliana. And I was so excited that I did tell Tony. He didn't know either.
Yeah.
But at 13 weeks, I had a miscarriage. And it was at that point, I remember sitting in the car with Tony, and I just said, I'm done. He betrayed me. God betrayed me. How could he do something like that? Raise my hopes and then crush him.
Yeah.
I was angry, and I'd never been that angry with God before. But over time, your feelings, you kind of soften a little bit. And it wasn't that long when a friend of ours, gave me a book called Shattered Dreams by Larry Crabb. And I recommend that book to anybody that just feels like their dreams are shattered. And I felt like mine were shattered, Basically, in a nutshell, he really goes and he dives deep into really what God wants us to do is to draw near to him.
Yeah.
And so I dove into that, and I dove into his word, and that, all those times, I know God was my comforter. He was there, and he loved me. But it was that third miscarriage where I did everything I could to draw near to him because I knew that's what he wanted. It was like that was it.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and then I get, pregnant with Eliana, which I didn't tell anybody until I was 4 months along. And I'm running, doing 5Ks. I'm like, I'm just going to do like I normally do and not tell anybody. And then come to find out she's like the easiest pregnancy, and I was 43.
Yes.
It's like, thank you, Lord. He answered. So,
and you got to use that name.
Yes, I got to use her name, so it's extra special.
Do you feel like sometimes God tells us things and we think it's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you believe in that moment he was speaking a future promise and you...
Well, like, that's the thing. Even though I knew what he wanted me to do, I still had that in my mind. What did he mean by that?
Yes.
Why did he send me to that name? Why did he say that he had answered?
Yes.
So it still tickled my mind every once in a while, and I didn't dwell on, we need to have another baby. It was just, I was just resting in him and kept my faith in him. I know it's not a popular opinion, but when I surrendered everything to him, it was my womb as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird, but it's just, I feel like that's what he wanted me to do. And through all of that, all those heartaches, all those losses, I was faithful to him to do what he wanted me to do, because that was his way of refining me.
Yes.
And it's not to say that's how it is for everybody, but that was just his way for me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I'm sure, I always think this for me. You taught me I'm off my rocker, but I feel like those times in my life, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I wouldn't take it back because of what God has done through those times.
Right. Right.
Sounds like he's done so much through this.
He has. That was. He definitely got my attention with each one.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was that final one that was like, aha.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good.
Yeah.
So, how has God moved through your life and lives of your loved ones through this journey? And what prayers has he answered?
Well, like I mentioned before, I think we all value life more.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate it more. We all, Eliana is just, my family has seen that whole process and the whole struggle, and just remaining faithful to him is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And to value life.
Yes.
No matter what stage it is that child is in, to value life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have you wrestled with doubt? Have there been negative thoughts, and if so, how did you battle that? How did you conquer it?
I knew for a brief moment I would think of what if, what if I didn't turn on my side? Gabriel would still be alive. But if Gabriel is still alive, I would never have Titus and Eliana. So you have to just counter those with the blessings. And I had to stop myself. I couldn't go to the what ifs.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go there. It's just pointless.
Mm-hmm.
And then the naysayers, you really should, you really shouldn't get pregnant again. And, hinting around at that. And I doubted whether I should. Why am I torturing myself? Why am I opening myself up to go through another loss? Or, but it was just something I knew he wanted me to do.
Absolutely.
Just to keep that open and refine me and mold me, and it was not easy.
Yes. So this is a more practical question, and I know everyone is so different, but I know there are things not to say. Sometimes we don't know.
Right.
So what are some things that people are like, please, this would not be helpful for anybody?
Yeah.
And what are some things you're like, this is always encouraging?
Yeah. And these are all examples that have happened to me that just kind of, just kind of make you feel, not helpful. I would never say that to him, but you just take it and swallow it and move on. But appreciate the ones you have. That's a biggie.
Ooh.
Don't ever say that.
Yes.
Because we do. We always appreciate the ones we have,
That doesn't take away from the loss.
No.
Right.
No. So that would probably be the number one. And I know people just say that because they don't know what else to say. It's no fault of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
The one, a miscarriage is awful. A stillborn is awful, but they're two different things, really.
Mm-hmm.
And you really can't compare the two other than them just being a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So comparing those sometimes, and one person told me, well, at least she got to hold it. Mine didn't get to hold mine because she had a miscarriage. So you don't, there's a fine line there. They're both awful.
Mm-hmm.
But going through both of them, you grieve in two different ways.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like you said, so often people are just like, let me fill this void with words.
Right,
and it's like,
right.
maybe you should have not said anything
Yeah,
at all.
just don't say anything.
Yeah. So what was encouraging? What could someone do that uplifted you?
Oh, my goodness. So the biggest thing for me was listening to women that had been through it. Mm-hmm. And I it was the most therapeutic to me was after Gabriel's funeral. We had people at the house, and we were sitting around talking with some women, and one of them had a stillborn at 8 months. And one of them, these were good friends of mine, but they don't talk about it a whole lot, but they were more open at that time because they knew, obviously what I went through. And one of them lost their baby at 2 weeks old. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about their experience, and I was asking them questions about things. And the thing that just gave me so much hope was their joy. Mm. They were talking about it, yet they still had joy. And I can't begin to tell you how relieved I was.
Right.
Because, when you're in the hospital and they give you these grieving pamphlets, and I remember reading those, and, pretty much you might be normal in a year, or you might still be grieving, and, I don't want that. That doesn't give me hope.
No.
That's those women. It was the best thing for me.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, last thing I want to ask you is, if someone is watching, maybe it's really fresh and they tuned in or listening, I should say, or somebody, maybe it's been a year or a couple of years. What do you want to say to them?
I think I always go back to the joy.
Yes.
A year before I had my first stillborn, the kids and I memorized the whole first chapter of James. And again, that was God's way of preparing me for all of this. Consider it pure joy, my brothers,
yes.
whenever you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith develops perseverance. And then it goes on to, just keep going.
Yes.
God's going to keep refining you. And those are my own words, but...
I love it.
So I think these people need hope. These women need hope that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Because when your heart is hurting so much, to see that I'm going to get through it.
Right.
I'm going to have joy through all of this because I know God is with me, and He's always going to be with me. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I'm going to get through this, no matter what the grieving books say. There's no time frame.
Right.
But with God, you're going to make it.
Yep.
They're going to make it. And I think that hopefully through all this, they will draw closer to Him. It sounds crazy. And I know it probably doesn't make sense to some, but that's what He wants. Absolutely.
Oh, so good. I'm going to end it with that because I can't imagine anything better too. Thank you so much, Susie.
You're
this
welcome.
Was amazing.
I didn't need the Kleenex.
I'm glad.
Good.
Yes.
Almost.
And, yes. And thank you everyone who is listening and tuning in. Man, I just hope that no matter what trial you are going through, that you are encouraged, that you remember that God will use all things for the good of those who loves Him, and that He is refining you. And whether it's you relate to what she was talking about or maybe it's something completely different, we pray that you leave encouraged and know that God is fighting for you. Thank you so much, and we cannot wait to catch you next time. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.